Hi there. This is how I transformed this image into this image. I transformed this image into this image. What tools did I use? I used AI, Photoshop, and CorelDRAW. So let's dive into how I got it done. So first of all, I worked on Gemini, and you can see my screen. So I uploaded this image into Gemini, and here's the prompt I gave it. I said, make this guy's shirt red and white and make him more excited. So Gemini did a pretty good job, but one thing I realized was that this image wasn't sufficient, as I can't see beyond half of his body, beyond his torso. So I needed to extend it down to a little bit, show his legs. So I then said, upscale, this is upscale actually, upscale and add details to this fellow's skin and make the image show to his waist level. So I wanted the image to show to his waist level. Now Gemini didn't do that, so I didn't use Gemini again. So I went to expand the image. So I'll just show you image expander. So I think I use pixel cuts. I'm not sure if I can remember. Yes, I use pixel cuts to expand the image. So I uploaded the image, similar fashion. I believe this was the image. So I uploaded the image. So here's the image, and then I just expanded it in like fashion, like this. You get it? And I click on generate. So I wait for it to generate the image, and then it does a pretty good job, and it generates the image for me. Wow, it's giving him some chinos trouser here. This is pretty interesting. So this is another, if you're not satisfied, you can always click the regenerate button for it to regenerate another iteration, and until you get your desired result. Awesome. So he gave him a belt here. So but for the scope of this tutorial, I'll just go back to my original image it generated. This was the image it generated for me. So it generated this particular image for me, and I knew this was enough for my design. So I went on to create this design from that image, and of course Taron want me to create a landscape design for this, and I went on to create this. Cool, right? So let me walk you through how I got started. Remember, once again, I said I created this design with AI, Photoshop, and CorelDRAW. Now you may not need to use CorelDRAW, but I love using CorelDRAW, so that's just my workflow. I can use Photoshop very well also too, but I love the workflow of using CorelDRAW. So don't crucify me or blame me for that. But let's jump straight into Photoshop and see how this magic began from here to here. So of course I need to do some photo editing. Now let me show you the difference. Notice something. In this image here, we have the Oraimo power bank and the New Age power bank, but notice what I've done. I've retained the Oraimo power bank, and I've changed the New Age to Redmi 14C image. So let me walk you through how I did that. Let's open Photoshop. Alright, so in the magical world of Photoshop here, I started from this particular layer we have here. So this was where I started from. I imported that same image I showed you. I expanded from pixel cuts and I imported it here. Now I've done quite a lot of edits. If you look at it, I've done quite a lot of edits here. So let me just walk you through how I began everything. So the first thing I did was that I noticed the downside to AI generated images. Notice something. If you zoom in, you have this kind of funny looking skin. You know, his skin is smooth, looking plastic and all of that, which I didn't like. But I wanted him to have organic look and a high resolution face. So what I did was that I brought in a new image. So I brought in this particular image, and look at the details of the image. I mean, the details are awesome. So I love the details of the image, apart from the fact that he has a similar expression with this first model, our first model here. They have a similar expression. So I said, yes, this is the perfect image. So I brought in this guy with Photoshop, and I replaced this guy's head with his head. So let's go back to the magical world of Photoshop. So I created that selection here. I mean, I brought in his head. Hold on, just hold on. So let me select the right image. Yes. And so I brought in this head here, as you can see. So I'm just going to undo that. So how did I do that? Let me just walk you through that in a very simple way. So I open this particular image with Photoshop. I can just right click and say open with, or I can as well drag it here. So I drag it like so. I unlock this layer. You can duplicate it just to have a copy of the original layer. And then I selected his head. Now you can use the select subject. You can use your quick selection tool if you like to use that, but I can just use select subjects. Photoshop has its own AI to select the subjects in an image. So I click on select subject and I wait for it to load, and it loads up the image, and then I modify the selection to only pick his head only. So right here is picking the entire guy, right? So I can as well use the polygonal selection tool, and I subtract from selection, not add. I already have a selection, so I want to subtract from that selection. So I do something like this. Now you can refine it to your taste, and not to elongate this tutorial too much, I made the selection to my taste and I refined it as much as possible. So I'm not going to be concerned about the details of this selection. I'm just going to do something quick here. So I subtract from that selection. I bring it to where I started to close it, and I have the head alone. So if I click the layer max tool, you see the head alone. That's it. So this was the selection. Of course, you can refine the selection. You can refine the selection by using select and mask. So you can use the select and mask button here to refine the selection, to feather it a bit, to bring back some more details, to take out details you don't need. And after having a desired selection, you can bring in that image into the one you are editing here. So that's what I've done here. So I brought in that image here. So this is the layer. I brought it in as a separate layer. That means that I had saved it. Let me put the layer max again. I can off this particular layer. You can save it as a PNG, that is to have a transparent background, export as a PNG, and then you save it, and then you hit save, and then you drag in that image into here. So once you drag that image into this place, it's going to make it a smart object. So I have the image here. Now observe something. I positioned his head to almost the same position of the original AI image, and then what I did next was that I began to tuck in his ears, the original image's ears and all of that, with the liquify tool. But you might not need to do that. You can as well just create a selection. You create a selection, right? And then you can delete, or you can hide it with a mask. You can delete that layer, but I didn't do that so that I can always come back. It's always good to do non-destructive editing. So I didn't do that. So here's what I did. I used the liquify filter and I tucked in his ears and his head to look like this. How do you use the liquify filter? That's very simple. You just come to the layer you want to edit, and then you come to filter, and then you come to liquify, and then you begin to make edits to the image. So what I did is that I did something like this. I began to tuck in his head like this. See, I tuck it in like this. You get the idea. I tucked it in like that. Get the idea? So I tuck it in, tuck this in, tuck that in, until it is not showing above my new image, and then you can click OK. But since I have done that, I'll just hit the cancel. So that was how I achieved this result here. And then the head, notice this head layer should be above the one beneath. Now also notice that I created a mask here, so that I can hide the background. Now, some of these concepts may not make sense to some of us because we are new to Photoshop and the world of design, but in other videos I will begin to break down a lot of these concepts so that they will make more sense to us. But the purpose of this video is just to walk us through how I created this effect on Photoshop and CorelDRAW using artificial intelligence too. So that said, I'll just turn off the other layers up to the point where we have reached. Awesome. So far so good. This is what I have. Now notice something, that this image here, his skin tone and the neck, they don't match. They don't match at all. There's nobody that has a lighter skin on their neck and darker skin on their... Well, it's possible anyway. It's possible actually. Maybe the sun tanned your skin, your head, and your neck is fairer. But that doesn't look realistic at all. That looks more like a lizard where you have a red head, a dark blue body. But anyways, I made adjustments on Photoshop to make it look more realistic. So I added a curves adjustment layer here. This is the curves adjustment layer. How do you do that? You click the adjustment layers here and you click on curves. So I'll just review that layer. So now this layer, I used it to brighten his skin. His face is looking a bit dark. I used the curves layer to brighten up his skin by just dragging it here. If you drag it this way, his skin will become bright. If you drag it this way, it will become darker. So I used this layer. I dragged it a bit to this side to brighten his face. So I brightened his face, and then I observed something as I was editing his image. I observed that look at this around his head. This is what designers call fringes, photo editors call fringes. There are some red and whatever particles on his hair. I observed that. Let me zoom in more so you can see it, and let me pan it. So now you may not really see this until I reveal a white background around it. So look at this now. You begin to see the fringes more visibly on a darker background. So what I did was that, how do I deal with fringes? So let me show you how I dealt with the fringes. So I'll leave the background layer to be there so that you can see the effect So what I did was that I created the black and white adjustment layer here, of which I have here. So it turns the image to black and white, you get. But this time, so let me just do that so that you understand what happened. So let me demonstrate it. So I created a black and white adjustment layer, and that turns the entire image to black and white. But what I want here is I want to selectively turn it to black and white. So only those places with the fringes I'm going to turn to black and white. Do you get it? So what I do is I press Ctrl I click on the mask, and I press Ctrl I to invert the mask, and then I press B on my keyboard to bring out my brush, and I begin to paint white. So when you paint white on this black adjustment, is going to reveal some of those effects. You see that? So in a similar fashion, I just cleaned this up like so. So the fringes are gone. Those colored fringes are gone. Do you see that? So, and that was how I dealt with that problem, and his hair became black. So I'm going to delete this one I used to demonstrate, and I'm going to turn on the previous one so that you can see what it looks like. So this before, colors and fringes and all of that. Let me put on that layer so that you can see. So this is the before and this is after. Notice these edges here. Before, this before, and this after. Do you see that? So on all the edges I took out those fringes. All right, so let's go on with our photo editing. It's looking good so far. I'm going to hide that layer there. So now the next thing I did was that I brought in an image of Redmi 14C carton, and I adjusted it to the position, the same position of the New Age power bank. You see that? Right? And then I used the polygonal lasso to cut away the parts I didn't want, like this, and I pressed the delete button. So I have this, and then it doesn't end there. The carton was looking a bit funny, so I used hue saturation to bring out the red a little bit more, and I used curves to make it have more contrast. So here is before. It looks a little exposed, and I use this to bring a more contrast to the image. So, and with that I was done with the photo editing, and then I saved files, export as PNG, exported this as PNG. So, and I saved it, I give it a name I want, and I click the save button. So I've done all of that already into CorelDRAW here. So note that I've downloaded images for my design. So I got this image, the background image from FreePic or some other stock image websites. So I downloaded the image and I brought it in. Now the size I'm working with is A4 size. I already have the logo of my client, which I put on the top left corner of the design, and I brought in my model here and I dropped him here. Now note that when you design flyers, it's good to have a reference image, if you will, so that you can, you need to visualize the concept before you begin to design anyway. So I did that in my head. I scanned through different images and I looked at this particular reference images. Kudos to the person who did this design. You have inspired this design I have done today. I found this on Pinterest anyway. So I just searched for flyers. Your search parameters can be, we can just say amazing flyer designs, spectacular flyer designs, eye-popping flyer designs, and you find a lot, and from there you can pick one you like. So I brought in that image I just edited on Photoshop, and then I increased the size a bit. I followed this same pattern, this same design style. I put the copy here, his logo is here. I tilted the logo a bit upwards. If I tilted the logo a bit, like this. I tilted it upward a bit to have the overall feeling of the design. So I tilted it, and again the copy follows the same tilt, and the contact us on also follows the same tilt. And voila, I composed everything here on CorelDRAW. And later on, the client decided that he wanted me to create a landscape version of the design. Now, many people think that when you create a portrait version of a design, now you want to move to landscape. It's very easy to just move things around and all of that, but that can be a worst nightmare for a designer, because many of the things are not functional the way you expect them to be. So for example, this was the portrait design I eventually ended up designing. So I had to find a way that all the information will fit in a desired manner. So, and there you have it, different proportions but same messaging and same style. So that's how I came up with this design eventually. So if you like me to explain anything, you can leave that in the comment section. But I hope you like this tutorial or this brief walkthrough of how I created from this to that. So again, let's start from where we started and where we eventually ended. So I started from here. Oh, that I've got the wrong image. Great. So I started from this image and I ended up with this amazing design. Look at it. Look at it. And I also have the landscape version here, which I created. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and if you want me to explain some concepts even better, just leave a comment in the comment section. Bye for now. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I remain Benga Delacon. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.